What I'm calling this is a three-way innovation focus, and I always recommend to organizations that you're not just looking at innovation through one lens, the customer, the product. You're looking at it through three lenses simultaneously, and that's customer progress, its business model, and its ways of working. It's how we serve customers in the marketplace, it's how we go to market, and it's our operating model, whether that's at an organizational level or it's at a team level. So I recommend that you develop questions in each of these categories. And for in some senses, it's logical because if there is a change in the way that we want to deliver value to customers or help them make more progress, that's going to be a change in our product or service, which is going to usually have an inevitable consequence on how we go to market with business model, which again then will have another knock-on effect to how we're going to work internally to be able to deliver the business model. So there is this chain reaction that we need to be aware of. So that's a good way to think about staying in alignment. But let's look now at some specific examples. So first of all, which questions do your customers want you to answer the most today? And this can be incremental progress-driven stuff. Versus, or as well as, which questions will keep you relevant in 3 years' time? So this is more disruptive and more progress-driven. And what we're really looking at here is that balanced portfolio of questions and ideas. Questions that will provoke ideas for today and questions that will provoke ideas for tomorrow. So that's very much in the customer progress space. At the business model level, you're focusing questions on the implications of any changes that occur in your products or services or as a result of that. But I would also say that you should be pursuing business model innovation in its own right, challenging the organization to reinvent the way that the company goes to market, even if that's with the exact same products and services that you sell today. Because if you don't do that, you can be pretty sure that someone else already is. And we're going to look at this more in Module 8, which is focused specifically on business model innovation. So finally, we need questions that challenge how relevant our ways of working are in line with changes to our products and services and business models. But just as we said before with business models, it's also important to be looking at how today's model could be improved irrespective of changes in our products and our business model. So, just think about the opportunities, for example, that automation and artificial intelligence can affect the way that work gets done. I don't meet many companies, I know many do, but I would say the majority of companies aren't looking today very hard at that issue. And one of the reasons for that, I think, is that no one's asking the question and no one has the remit and the mandate to pursue the answers to those questions necessarily. But that's another story. So remember also that none of this is necessarily restricted to just big corporate initiatives, because all of this can work, or some of it can work at a team level too. So particularly in the area of ways of working, which questions should you always be asking yourselves about how you can be making better progress in the work that you're trying to do, and how can you deliver better progress to any internal customers that you serve? So there are three categories of question to consider developing. Let's now move on to consider what we actually do with those questions. So first of all, spread them. I mean, the more brains that we have focused on answering our most important questions, the more likely we'll find original solutions. Some companies I know have 4 or 5 questions that they want employees to be answering on at any one time. And I think that's a great way to trigger, well, 2 things really. It focuses questioning and in brainstorms and deliberate creative sessions, but it also triggers passive idea generation. So when questions are well communicated enough around the organization, employees will find themselves just naturally wondering about them on and off on a continual basis. And that's a great way to supplement more focused brainstorming sessions, as we'll find out in the next module. That kind of, absent-minded daydreaming about questions can provoke some unexpected gems. So don't underestimate the power of that. Secondly, explain why these questions matter. Don't just assume that people will figure out what they mean and why we're doing this simply because they work in your company. You would be amazed how many people I meet when I'm just in and out of different companies and ask them, so what do you actually do here? The number of people who cannot answer the question what the company actually does is staggering. So Don't assume that just because you're putting some questions out there, people understand why you're doing it, what they mean. If you want people to engage with innovation, tell them why it matters to them and to the company. Next, as well as using questions to spark new ideas, also use them to validate new ideas. So if someone proposes a seemingly great idea, but it doesn't really help answer one of the key questions that you've prioritized, it's probably not the best use of resources right now. I would say don't throw those ideas away. They could come in handy elsewhere inside the organization or at a different time in the future. And there's more I've written about that in Be Less Zombie, about how to manage that particular issue. So have a look in there. Number 4, involve people in question design. This is a skill that you want as many people as possible to develop. Not only because it's going to just create better business focused thinking throughout the organization, but it's going to spark curiosity. It's going to develop curiosity. And that's something that's been proven to increase levels of innovation and creativity inside organizations. Now, ideally, you want to get this question design happening at a cross-functional level so that you're thinking about issues from all angles. Do let people do it individually, but the more you can kind of do it as a team, treat it like it is a creative pursuit. Just like developing an idea is a creative pursuit, designing a question is a creative pursuit as well. So the more brains, the better. Next, make question design as important as idea generation in the minds of your people. I mean, think about how can you reward great questions and treat them almost like intellectual property, because really they are. They are a trigger, at least, for intellectual property that can come out of them. So, have question of the month, question of the year, reward people, make it seem important. If you believe it is important, you have to do that. You have to create some symbolism around it so that people believe that this is an important pursuit. And then finally, revisit your questions often. This isn't a print once only exercise. The world is changing so fast. What is today's red hot relevant question is probably not going to be so relevant tomorrow. And you don't want your people generating ideas around a question that was designed for a different era. So here's a question about questions that I want to leave you with. Are you designing better questions than your competition? Better questions, remember, provoke better ideas. So if you want to increase your innovation performance, just make a deliberate choice. Decide to begin experimenting with how the design and application of catalytic questions could show up inside your organization. This stuff really matters, and it's really not a difficult thing to start to pursue. No one's going to get killed for trying this stuff. In fact, the more questions that you're asking, the more likely that you're going to start also to provoke a more curious and a more transparent culture, and we'll build on that in other areas. Okay, so some resources to help you here. As I said, chapter 19 in the book can help you. On belesszombie.com/resources, you will find a list of catalytic questions that I've put together as a free download. So do go and check that out. Take them and do what you like with them. Make them your own. They're just fuel, really, to get you started. But just decide that you're going to run some experiments with this stuff and get people working on it. Okay, so let's sum up. So we've looked at questions as a hidden innovation superpower. This is something that most companies are not doing, but it has tremendous impact. We looked at how to design a question, looking at the progress that we're trying to create in a situation and the multipliers of that, and crashing the two together. And how do you put it into practice? How do you turn this stuff on and make it something that is going to make a difference in the daily business? We're now on to bolder idea generation, number 5. So head over to the next download the slides to this one, check out the book, go online, look for the free resources on belesszombie.com. And if you'd like to connect or get in touch, please feel free to do so. I'm going to try and put my teeth back in for the next episode, and I hope to see you there.